Welcome back to the deep dive. If you're a golfer, you definitely know that feeling on the putting green. It often seems like the most mysterious part of the whole course.
Yeah, frustrating sometimes to
Absolutely. Most of us, we take a quick look, rely on a bit of intuition, maybe a prayer.
and hope for the best, right?
Yeah,
But what if green reading wasn't this mystical art?
exactly.
It really isn't. And that's sort of the core idea we're digging into today.
Yeah.
When you break it down, it's actually this blend of, well, physics, careful observation, and making precise choices.
The intuition part only really clicks once it's grounded in some logic. Yeah.
Precisely. That feel becomes reliable when you understand why you feel it.
Okay, so our source material today, it lays out this really structured 6-step routine. It's meant to be a complete guide to reading the green. And the promise is basically to replace that guesswork, that gut feeling, with verifiable logic, using just, well, what you've already got, your eyes, your feet, your brain.
And our mission here is to give you a framework that, honestly, should drastically improve your course management. Following this kind of routine brings consistency.
Right.
You'll sink more putts? Yeah, sure. But maybe the biggest immediate win is cutting out those really demoralizing three putts.
Oh, the worst.
They usually come from just misreading the break or, just as often, completely misjudging the speed.
Okay, let's get into it. Let's unpack this routine. Step 1. It actually starts way before you even get to your wall.
Right, while you're still walking up.
This is the macro view, reading the whole landscape as you approach the green.
And this is so crucial for context. You really can't understand the little slope on your, say, 30-foot putt until you grasp the bigger picture slope of the entire area.
So what are you looking for exactly?
You need to see how the overall terrain slopes, how the green itself is shaped, and, really importantly, how it fits into the land around it. You're looking for the main drainage patterns, essentially. Where does water want to go?
I really like the visualization trick the source mentioned here. It makes this abstract idea pretty concrete.
Yeah, the rain one.
Yeah. Imagine a sudden, heavy downpour. Just picture it. Where would all that water naturally flow off this green?
That simple thought experiment, it almost immediately flags the main slope direction for the entire green complex. Water always finds the easiest path down.
Gravity always wins.
It points you to the major downhill trend.
And there's a neat design insight that helps confirm what you're seeing. Our sources point out that well-designed greens, they're usually shaped to drain water away from the high-traffic spot.
Like the path you'd walk to the next tee.
Exactly. So if you see signs of drainage or just suspect water would run towards a less used side of the green, you've likely found the true, maybe subtle overall slope direction.
Okay, so once you've got that big picture in your head, generally which way is down, then you shift focus.
To the micro view.
To the micro view, right on the green surface itself. And that brings us neatly to step 2. Finding the fall line. This has to be like your absolute top priority before you try to figure out anything else.
Okay, define the fall line for us, because I get the feeling that without this specific reference point, everything that follows is, well, it's still kind of guesswork.
It pretty much is. The fall line is simply the single steepest downhill path directly away from the hole.
Steepest path.
Think of it geometrically. It's the pure path of gravity. The visualization here is even simpler. Imagine you just dropped a little marble right into the cup.
Okay.
Where would it roll out? Where would it start picking up speed fastest? That line, that path, is the fall line.
So, why is finding that specific steepest path, the fall line, so critical, especially if my putt looks, relatively flat or it's going across the slope?
Because that fall line dictates the break for every single putt on that green surface. It's the axis, the 0 point that all the other slopes curve around. So if you're putting from anywhere that isn't directly on that fall line, the ball will break towards it. Always.
That makes the geometry really clear. So if I'm standing, say, to the right of the fall line as I look at the hole, the putt has to break left towards the fall line. If I'm on the left side, it breaks right towards the fall line again.
Exactly. The fall line is your reliable anchor point. Now, if you happen to be putting directly uphill or directly downhill from the cup,
you're on the fall line.
You're on the fall line, exactly. And those putts are generally straight, assuming no weird bumps or imperfections. But without locking down that single reference line first, your chances of judging the break direction correctly just plummet.
Right.
Every calculation after this depends on knowing where that steepest downhill path actually lies.
Okay, so direction is sorted. Now, step 3 is about quantifying it. We know which way it breaks. Now we need to figure out how much.
Measuring the steepness.
Yeah.
Because obviously a steeper slope means more break. We need to turn that visual impression into, well, into a number.
From just looking to actually measuring.
And this is where we use that practical foot-based method. The sources suggest you take 3 large steps downhill from the hole.
Okay.
Following precisely along that fall line you just identified.
3 big steps. That's like a standardized distance, isn't it? The source material said roughly 100 inches or just over 2.5 meters.
That's about right, yeah. It gives you a consistent baseline, so you stop there after the 3 steps, and then your job is to estimate the elevation difference between where your feet are and the hole itself.
Specifically in inches.
Specifically in inches, yes.
Now, I can hear people thinking, hang on, how accurate can I possibly be just eyeballing inches on a golf green?
Well, look, it is a rule of thumb, but it's surprisingly effective, especially when you use the conversion rule that goes with it.
Which is?
The easy conversion is this. 1 inch of height difference equals a 1% slope. Simple as that.
Okay, so if I take my 3 steps down the fall line, look back, and estimate that I'm standing, say, 2.5 inches lower than the hole.
Then you've just calculated a 2.5% slope. 2.5 inches equals 2.5%.
That's actually really powerful.
Yeah.
Because 2.5% slope is a concrete variable. It replaces just thinking, that looks kind of steep, with an actual number you can work with.
Exactly.
Why is the 1% slope figure such a key benchmark in golf?
Because it's generally considered the threshold where gravity really starts to take over significantly. On a perfectly smooth surface, a 1% slope is about where a golf ball will naturally start to roll on its own without any push.
Ah, okay.
So by quantifying it, you now have a direct input for predicting how much sideways movement, how much break that slope is going to generate for your putt. You've gone from a vague feeling to a number you can actually use.
Right. And knowing that specific percentage, that number, leads us straight into step 4, figuring out the aim point. This is the spot you actually need to aim at to let the slope bring the ball back to the hole. And this is where that 90-degree angle trick comes in.
Yeah, this is the clever bit that translates your slope measurement into a specific aiming target. So first, you walk to a spot where you're standing at a 90-degree angle to the fall line.
Meaning the hole is directly off to your side, not uphill or downhill from you, but straight across the slope.
Exactly, perpendicular to that steepest slope you identified. And from that sideways vantage point, you then visualize what the sources call the drift distance.
Drift distance. Okay, what's that?
You imagine hitting a perfectly straight putt with perfect pace right from where you're standing. Now, because of the slope, it's not going to go straight, is it?
No, it'll start falling downhill immediately towards the fall line.
Right. The drift distance is your best estimate of how far downhill the ball would actually break or drift before it reached the line of the hole.
Okay, I see the drift. Now, what's the trick part?
Here's the clever bit. You take that estimated drift distance. Let's say you reckon it would drift 1 foot downhill. You then mirror that exact same distance, that 1 foot, to the opposite side of the fall line, which is the uphill side.
Ah, so you project it uphill from the hole.
Precisely. That mirrored spot, 1 foot uphill in this case, that is your aim point. If you aim your putt to start rolling directly over that spot.
The combination of your starting line and the slopes effect should theoretically bring the ball right back to the cup.
That's the idea. Gravity does the work for you.
What I really like about this method is that it gives you a consistent process for any kind of putt, doesn't it? Uphill, downhill, sidehill. You're always finding that aim point based on mirroring the natural drift.
It connects your measured slope directly to a physical target on the green. It provides structure.
Okay, so we figured out the line, the aim point. Now we pivot completely for step 5.
Yep, shift gears entirely. Now we focus away from the aim point and onto the distance point. This is all about pace, speed control.
Line and speed, equally important.
Absolutely, to work together. Getting the line perfect is useless if the speed is wrong.
And this distinction you make is so important for people listening. The aim point that controls the line, it's where you start the ball rolling.
Correct.
But the distance point, that controls the pace. It's essentially about where the ball should ideally stop if, heaven forbid, it actually misses the hole.
Exactly. Think about it. If you nail the aim point but blast the putt way too hard.
It just runs over the break, goes straight through it.
Right. The speed overrides the slope effect you accounted for. And if you hit it way too soft.
It doesn't hold the line. It dives downhill too early.
Correct. It doesn't have the momentum to stay on the intended path. So the distance point concept helps you adjust your stroke energy based on the elevation change.
Okay, let's talk specifics. What are the rules for adjusting pace? What about an uphill putt?
Uphill putts, they need significantly more energy, obviously. Gravity's fighting you the whole way. The ball slows down much faster,
Do you need to hit it firmer?
much firmer. Your target distance point needs to be past the hole. The recommendation is usually to hit the putt with enough pace that if it misses, it would roll maybe 3, even 4 feet beyond the cup.
That feels aggressive, but it makes sense. You need that momentum.
It ensures the ball has enough energy to climb the slope and hold its line all the way to the hole, overcoming the break you read.
Okay, and now the flip side, the one everyone dreads. The slippery downhill putt.
Yeah, this is where so many strokes are wasted because people hit it too hard, instinctively.
Right.
With a downhill putt, gravity is helping the ball accelerate. You need a much, much softer stroke. Here, your ideal distance point should actually be before the hole.
Before it, really?
Or maybe just barely trickling past, perhaps only a few inches beyond the cup at the absolute most. You're essentially trying to get the ball to just die into the hole, to run out of steam almost immediately after it passes the cup's front edge.
That focus on pace, especially leaving it short on downhillers, that's what really saves strokes, isn't it?
It is.
The sources are clear. Most 3-putts don't happen because you missed the line on the second putt. They happen because your first putt was hit with totally the wrong speed.
Leaving you an impossible follow-up, usually a fast one coming back.
Yeah, exactly. If your first putt screams 4 feet past, that downhill 4-footer coming back is terrifying.
Absolutely. Managing that initial momentum, dialing in the distance point correctly for uphill versus downhill, that's genuinely half the battle on the greens. You're actively working with or against the gravity you identified earlier.
Okay, so we've got the full 5-step process laid out now. Macro view, find the fall line, measure the slope, calculate the aim point, adjust the pace with the distance point. But there's a step 6.
The final piece.
This step reminds us that green reading isn't just something you do, it's a skill you have to train and, crucially, verify. This is where getting objective feedback makes a huge difference.
Yeah, this is absolutely critical for closing that loop between what you think you see and what's actually happening. When you're practicing, you need a way to check if your visual read matches objective reality.
And we can use modern tools for this, right? Training aids, apps.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The source material mentions tools like the Puttalize app, for instance, which acts like a training partner.
So instead of just hitting putts and guessing if the read was right, a golfer can actually input all those variables they just worked through on the green.
Precisely. You'd input things like the stimp speed, if you know it, the slope percentage you measured.
From the free-step method.
Right. The distance to the hole, your angle relative to the fall line, maybe even the desired speed you want the ball rolling at the hole.
And then the tech does the physics calculations.
It does the heavy lifting, yeah. Based on those inputs, it calculates the mathematically correct aim point and the optimal distance point. It can even show you a visual representation of the path the ball should take.
Which lets you immediately compare, okay, did my visual read and my aim point calculation match what the physics says?
Exactly that. By doing that comparison over and over again, comparing your subjective feel to the objective result, you start to really learn how different speeds and slopes interact on various greens. You calibrate your eyes and your feel.
It builds a really powerful feedback loop, doesn't it?
It does. You start to develop a routine you can genuinely trust under pressure because you've trained all the inputs, your eyes, your feet, your brain, to work together based on verified results, not just hope.
You replace that doubt with, well, with calculated certainty, or at least much higher confidence.
Much higher confidence, definitely.
So let's bring this all together. What does this mean for you, the listener, standing over a putt tomorrow? We kind of started with this idea of relying on intuition, and we've walked through this really meticulous, almost scientific 6-step process that seems to demystify the whole thing.
Yeah, if you think about the whole sequence, this routine is essentially your blueprint. It's designed to turn putting from what feels like a very emotional, sometimes random experience into a more technical, repeatable skill. It starts with step 1, looking at the big picture, the landscape.
Step 2, finding that crucial fall line.
Step 3, measuring the slope percentage using your feet.
Step 4, calculating your specific aim point with that 90-degree trick.
Step 5, consciously adjusting your stroke speed using the distance point rules for uphill or downhill.
And finally, step 6, actively training and verifying your reads, maybe using technology, to build trust and refine your perception.
The final takeaway really is undeniable, I think. Reading the green effectively isn't some magical talent you're born with.
It's a skill.
It's absolutely a trainable skill, grounded in basic physics and geometry.
And the more accurately you learn to observe, to measure, and then aim based on a logical structure like this.
The more putts you'll make, and almost certainly the fewer strokes you'll waste on the greens. You're moving beyond just looking at the green and starting to actually understand it.
So maybe the final thought for everyone listening, the next time you walk onto a putting green, remember that call to action from our sources.
Don't just rely on your gut feeling alone. Read the green, understand the physical facts of the slope, and then trust the process you've built to turn those observations into a confident aim and a controlled pace.